All right. First of all, I haven't gotten questions from people, so I want to get questions. Questions, remark, feedback, etc. So if you want to make a remark to us, or questions, or communicate with us, we would love to hear from you. RabbiGaon@gmail.com. If you would like to make a donation, it's Yeshiva Etzion.com. You go to the PayPal account, look who we are, what we do. It will be terrific. This shiur is about rules how to find, not rules, but ways how to find your mate, based on the weekly parasha. It says, "Vayu chaye Sarah 100 shana ו20 shana ו7 shanim, shne chaye Sarah. ותמות שרה בקריית ארבעה חברון, בארץ כנען, ויבוא אברהם לספוד לשרה ולבכותה." And he came to mourn her and to cry for her. So again, we said yesterday this parasha should have been called the death of Sarah, because that's how it starts. However, it starts with the name Chaye Sarah. One way to look at it, why? כי צדיקים במיתתם נקראים חיים. Righteous people, even in the death, they're called alive. They're dead, don't worry, they're dead, but they're called alive. It says, ויבוא אברהם לספוד לשרה. לספוד לשרה? ויבוא? Excuse me, why does it say ויבוא? Where was he? Where was Avraham Avinu that he came to the I mean, he wasn't near her when she died. You know, we feel a little uncomfortable. We feel a little uncomfortable with this pasuk. We say she died immediately and so on and so forth, but we know that that's not the case. That's not the case. It teaches us that during this time, Avraham and Sarah did not live together anymore. But rather, he put his tent in a different place in Canaan, and it seems like they went to some kind of a crisis after the death, after the Akedah of Yitzchak. And sometimes you kind of break apart hoping that time would heal. And it happens to everybody. Listen, it can happen to everybody. It happened to Avraham and Sarah, it can happen to everybody. And they hope that maybe it will heal. And when he heard that she died, then the pasuk says, Vayavo, and he came. Let me tell you a little bit of on a happier note. What is it like? A person goes to the doctor and he complains to the doctor on his medical conditions. He says, "I'm not feeling good here, doctor, that's for you. Learn what to do." He says, I don't have an appetite, my face is pale, I have black under my eyes, my hair is falling, the bird is not flying so much anymore. And my relationship with my wife and not really being, it's affecting that. It's not really being the same thing. Doctor says, okay, undressed, bend over, regular doctor. He says, checks him up. He says, my dear friend, there's nothing wrong with you. You have nothing, no disease, no syndrome, nothing in you. He says, however, you need to get into a good physical shape. You have to go into a training program. Start walking every day, 10 miles a day, 8 miles a day, and in a month call me and we'll see what happens. So, a month goes by and the man calls the doctor and says, Doctor, Yeshakoyach, Chazak u'Baruch, doctor. Tremendous advice you gave me. He says, I walk the mile every day. I walk every day 8 to 10 miles. I have a great appetite. I'm muscular. I look good. I have good tan. And doctor won't believe what happened. My hair started to grow. Doctor, you're the man. Thank you so much. So the doctor says, and how's the relationship with your wife? So he says, to tell you the truth, doctor, I don't really know. I'm about 300 miles away from her. So, ויבוא אברהם לשפוט לשרה ולבכותה, and Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to cry for her. Don't choke on your sandwich. Another explanation, he just came to escort her in her last journey, and he was supposed to go back. I'm in a happy mood today. I'm not feeling good. I'm really upset, so I'm in a good mood. Fix your color. Always yin yang, you know. So he had to sit shiva where he was sitting. On the way, he had to look to stay in Hebron because he had to look for an appropriate place for Sarah. He did not prepare a place for her to be buried. I mean, afterward, he did not expect that a woman in her shape, even though she's 127 years old, all of a sudden would die. You know, he kind of eyed the Marat HaMachpelah, where today it's very difficult for us to go. And after somewhat of an ordeal of negotiation, he's able to buy that cave, and he turns it into a burial site. And of course, after that, it became the burial site for all the patriarchs and the matriarchs, besides Rachel. But the question is, it's very hard to understand. Your wife, your beloved wife, and he loved his wife, just died. How are you engaged in a business? Give me this, give me that, I give you that. No, you give me. What is this, like porn stars? There's pawn shops that I'll give you for this one, I'll give you for the other one. His wife died. Whatever. How are you able to do that? It's very hard for us to understand that. However, if you tell a little joke, you might be able to understand how things work. But of course, not to Avraham Avinu, but this is how things work. So, it's like this, I was very sad this morning. Why I was sad this morning? They had a survey that 57% of American Jewry eats pork. And American Jewry is the least observant group in the makeup of America. We are the most secular of all. It's not so good. So one of those Jewish American Jews, very wealthy man, comes. His wife died, and right before the funeral procession goes, it's a good number, right? It's funeral procession goes. The person goes to the rabbi and says, "Listen, Rabbi, I don't have time, but please teach me all the things I need to do, all the mourning rituals that we need to do, because after all, with the merit of my wife, I did all this great business and so on and so forth. And because after she died now, I really feel a tremendous obligation to do everything right according to Jewish halacha." So the rabbi says, of course, he explains to him quickly all the minhagi avlut, all the mourning rituals, and he said to him, "And now you go back to the family. The procession is going to go on its way soon." The person goes to his family, and a few seconds later, he goes back to the rabbi, and he's apologizing. He says, "Rabbi, excuse me, you told me that for a whole entire year, I have to go to shul every single day? Really?" And he says, and the reason, because I need to say Kaddish for my wife. The rabbi says, yeah, that's what we do. So the man says, "Listen, I'm going for my business. I go to all kind of places all over the world. And some of the places, not only that there's no shul there, there's not even a Jew there. So, I'm going to leave my business. I can't do that." So the rabbi says, "No, in any case, in any shul there's a Jew that says Kaddish every single day. So pay someone and he'll say Kaddish in front of you, and you say it whenever you can. Don't bother yourself now with those things. Go, yalla, go to your family. The funeral procession is about to leave soon. The Jew goes back to his family. A minute later, he goes back to the rabbi. He says, excuse me, Rabbi, you told me for a month I have to grow a beard. The rabbi says, yes, I have to grow a beard. So the man says to him, I meet with the top people in the world, top business people in the world, all of them, big shots. I mean, big shots. They're all of a sudden going to see me with the beard. They're going to look like ISIS, with a beard like this. What they're going to say is going to affect my image, and ultimately it's going to affect my business. So the rabbi says, don't worry, growing a beard is just a minhag. Just a minhag. I could exempt you also from that. Here, I exempt you for that. You don't have to grow a beard. Yalla habibi. Yeah, go to your family. Don't bother with this. The funeral procession is about to leave. Go. Again, a few minutes later, the person comes. He goes to the rabbi and says, Rabbi, mechila. He says, but the week of the Shiva falls exactly at the worst time possible for me. I looked at my calendar, and it says, I saw that I have a most important, extremely crucial appointment in Hong Kong during the middle of Shiva. I can't do so, and that would determine the business for the rest of the year. So the rabbi says, listen, Shiva, you really have to sit. So the Jew says, Tov, if I'm going to sit, you should Shiva, you should know all my business will collapse, and that's going to be on you. And if my business will collapse, it's going to be such a catastrophe, people can jump off the windows, people jump off the roof, and again, Rabbi, what are you telling me to do? So the rabbi says, No. If there is a case of pikuach nefesh, of life endangerment, we're going to find the solution. Hire you someone who is going to be your shaliach mitzvah. You pay him the schum, you pay him the money, and he sits in front of you, Shiva. Don't bother yourself. Go back to the family. The funeral is going to leave soon. So the man goes back to his family, and after that he goes back to the rabbi and says, Rabbi, listen, the person who sits instead of me Shiva, do I have to come to him to do chiyuv, do they have an obligation of do the chiyuv of nichum avilim, of comforting the mourners, or I could be exempt from that as well? You understand how we go about things? It's very sad. So why did it says Vayavo Avraham? Vayavo Avraham, pay attention, Vayavo, and he came. We think, interesting to see. We think that if we were able to remove any kind of emotion, especially when it comes to shidduchim and marriage life, we're going to create space when it's going to be only a clear intellectual decision or pattern. And that is, of course, a complete mistake. Only a person who is sensitive and has a nefesh, not only in this, anywhere, can make decisions. You cannot, if you have a problem, most likely you would see it. If you have a problem with making executive decisions, you have emotional problems. If you have a problem with executive decisions, you will tend to have outbursts of anger, and your emotions will be always in a turmoil. You see the connection between making decisions and having emotions. The correlation between emotions and decision will give us an indication why an appropriate education to your child, to create a warm environment, when people care about you, when it's a healthy family relationship, when there's no child preferred to the other, are so essential to the child. Why? If you don't provide him with that, it will be very difficult for him to live normal life. You need to create an emotional stability in order to create an intellectual process. When a person wants to negotiate, and it has to do with negotiating everything. It's a give and take in life. Even the difficulties of time, your ability to negotiate things in time will be determined by your emotions. Avraham Avinu is able to negotiate business. So we talked about, hold on, since we took a break, one second, it's a commercial break, I'm going to drink my tea. Danny, you can smile, it doesn't hurt. Other things will hurt, not this. So, but we don't really know how, or it seems like we don't know. Again, it's crazy. Sarah just died, and he's already getting a wife. There's not really a description. I mean, Avraham cried a little bit for Sarah and so on and so forth. Or at least he came to cry. But how Yitzchak is dealing with the death of his mother, and what does this have to do with picking Rivka as his wife? So, but you should see a small window to understand that, specifically on the day when he met Rivka, and so-called married Rivka. The Torah tells us in very few words, almost like like poof, we'll call it a flashback, or it's like a cut scene. The difficulties in which Yitzchak carries with him after the loss of his mother. His mother was not just a regular mother, of course, but she was still his mother. And the pasuk says, "Vayavia Yitzchak ha'ola Sarah imo." And Yitzchak brought her to the tent of his mother, Sarah imo. We know that Sarah imo. Of course, there is a tremendous significance. He brought her to the tent of Sarah, which was also his mother. So he brought her to the tent. For us not to think that he brought her just to any tent, he brought her the tent of Sarah. And Sarah represents, first of all, who she was as a person and who she was in the world. After that, she is his mother. But first of all, she is Sarah. He says, "Vayikach et Rivka v'ti'i lo leisha." And he took Rivka, and she became his wife. Vayahavea, and he loved her. Vayenachem Yitzchak acharei imo. And then he had nachama, he had comfort. He had some, it eases pain after the death of his mother. So you could learn from here, which is extremely short but yet informative pasuk. It tells us tremendous things here. When we skip that, a few things. First of all, Yitzchak was in great sorrow after his mother left. His mother was a major player in the world scene. Besides that she was his mother, but she was a giant. And that void that she left is great. It's hard for him to deal with. Every time he enters her tent, the empty tent, he remembers also the fact that she was his mother. The kindness. A lot of women will touch you in many different ways. But only the hand of a mother feels like the hand of the mother. Your wife, when your wife will touch you, is not the same as if your mother touches you. And your wife touching you on your shoulder won't be the same as it feels to your children when she touches the children's shoulder. He remembers her. He remembers her laughter. He remembers the cooking, the smells. Nothing like mama's cooking. The best. Even your mother cooks like garbage, you still love your mother's cooking. Something special about it. The umami of mother's cooking. Another conclusion that Yitzchak knew that his success in choosing a wife will be determined based on the way she's going to function as home as a continuation to the model in which he knew. And his mother, Sarah Imenu, which is our model to this way, is also our model to pick up a Jewish girl. And that's why, since Sarah was involved so much in chesed, the test that Eliezer gives Rivka is an act of chesed. If the girl is selfish and she's looking only for herself, and I'll show you later on what happens, she is not involved in chesed, she is involved only in self-observance, self-receiving. She is not following the model of Sarah Imenu, which has been the model for all Jewish women from that point on. If Abraham set to us the path for a Jewish person to be, in terms of humble, gomle chasadim, and so on and so forth, Sarah Imenu set the path for Jewish women to be. And how is a Jewish mother and a Jewish wife should be, how is a Jewish woman should interact with the world. A Jewish mother interacts with the world as well. She just doesn't sit at home and makes challah. As Sarah Imenu did. She has tremendous effect on the world. There's nothing wrong with a woman going to work. You don't know what chesed she can do. You don't know what effect she can cause all over the world. I don't understand this woman who want to sit home and do absolutely nothing. Do not understand. Where's Sarai Menu to that? What is this? Only receiving? Only receiving? Who are you giving to? You're receiving and giving to yourself only? What are you, a baby machine? That's how you justify your existence in the world? How about kiruv? How about Jewish people out there? There is a Jewish woman that lives somewhere in the boondocks in upstate New York. You don't know how much effect this lady has over Jewish people. If she would sit at home, and her name is Sarah also, you have no idea how much effect this lady has over that. She meets people, people respond to her, she goes head to head with them, she's influencing them. I'll tell my wife, she works in a place with all mostly black people. You know what effect she has over the people? All of a sudden you find all these people that seem to look for refuge. My middle name is also Sarah. They look for refuge for her, for advice for her, because she's a religious woman and they understand where she's coming from and so on and so on. And all the Jews all of a sudden come out of the woodwork, and believe me, there are plenty of Jews there too. People you never believed there were Jews. People who were married to Muslims. Oh, the Jews. People who were married to I don't know what. They come. The influence that one has over you cannot sit at home and do nothing. That's not following the model of a Jewish woman. And if today, measure times. We need to have measure. We need to have a different approach. We need to utilize all our powers that we have, all the tools that we have to fix what needs to be fixed. We have to do that. Desperate times calls for desperate measures, and that's what it is, and that's what we're doing. If you want to sit down at home and do absolutely nothing, that's fine, not a problem. Instead of living in villa somewhere, we're going to go down to a shed. It's okay. You want this? Let's go back to this. And I'll go to Kollel and you sit on it. That's what you want, no? That's not the model of Sarai Imenu. Sarai Imenu did kiruv. How could Sarai Imenu do kiruv? She was making herself available to people to come. The third conclusion that we can learn from that we can receive from here is the sensitivity of Yitzchak was so high that he had the ability to decide to marry and to bring Rivka to his house. You have to have this ability. You need to be able to make decisions. If you were in command, command. If you were in a leading position, lead. If not, don't. If you can't make decisions, nothing will happen to you. You need to be able to make decisions. That's the one for me, that's it. That's the one for me, that's it. Fourth conclusion is, what we can summarize it somewhat, there's a great correlation between all these parts of the Pasuk, which we read, between the ability to make decisions, between the ability to fall into depths and to hard times and actually deal with it, and the ability to love and to connect yourself to another person, the ability to seek comfort when it's hard and you lose something, and to understand that even though your mother is not here, but also when she was here, even though she's not here, she's still here. How is your mother still here? With all the things that she is giving to you, with the model that she left behind her. So even though she's not here, she is here. That's why we said tzaddikim, b'mitatam kuim chayim. Righteous people, after they're dead, they're considered to be alive, is because the model in which they left us is still alive. Everybody's dead. Once you die, you die. Don't fool yourself. But the models in which they gave us. Oh, you're always late, Bechor. Always late. We start at 9 o'clock, Bechor. Not 10:30. 9 o'clock. And this is the ability that we have. And we say, now pay attention, we said before, Vayavo Avraham. And we almost finished. If you need to go, you go. It says that we said when Avraham came, Vayavo Avraham. But as soon as we say Vatamot Sarah, we say Avraham Zaken Ba Bayamim. And that description is the description of the mourning of Avraham Avinu on the death of Sarah. And it says, of course, Vayavo, and he came. So, when we say Vayavo, for me, Vayavo and Ba is the same thing. Avraham Zaken Ba Bayamim, Vayavo Avraham. Avraham is also, as we said yesterday, also dying here. That's his death. Part of him died. We all know the connection that Abraham and Sarah had. And he says, okay, but what's the secret behind it? And pay attention. What's the secret behind this connection? And you're not going to find it in your phone scrolling down, by the way. The connection is very simple. The secret for it, for this connection, we'll call it a reflector. You know the reflector of lights that you put like this? You know, reflectors that you have a little light and reflects it. Is a reflector. To be one, and to realize one. What does it mean? If I'm going in the darkness and I have a reflector, and comes a car and sheds a light, that illuminates great, and then the driver, the source of light, see this mega light that comes back from me, and is able to see me and realize my existence. And relationship, when I'm not acting as a reflector, which reflects the light, which allows the spouse to see me in a great light, I immediately turn into a reflector of darkness. In other words, when somebody sends a beacon, a small sign of love to you, you should be able to magnify it, and to the person could see you and recognize you as you react to their emotions. So if somebody shows you a little love, you should reflect it in a way that the person would see that you consider his little love as great love. That's the relation between Avraham and Sarah. If I just want the light in and I don't want to give it back, if the light comes to me and I don't recognize it, I become like a black hole. And the black hole mass comes in and never comes out. That's the only way, that's one way to destroy your marriage. When one side only gives and one side only receives and there's no reflection. In other words, if somebody gives you light, you need to return them greater light. By doing so, you shine and they see you and they recognize you, and you see how the love comes up stronger and stronger. Especially in dark times, when things are hard, when you're confused, you don't know how to make decisions. Look at this little light that your spouse is giving you. Reflected great. That would create a lot of light in return. And no accidents will happen. So you are reflecting somebody else's light so they can see you and they acknowledge your existence. If the person does not wear a reflector, if the light will come, sometimes it's going to be too late and you're going to simply run them over, or they're going to run you over. It's a balance. It's a dance. You have to do it like that. Abraham and Sarah did it like this. When things didn't work, they just took a little break. And when Sarah died, Abraham died with her together. Their relationship was an everlasting tango, beautifully synchronized, one reflecting to the other. When you have two dancers and they dancing, especially a passionate dance like tango, you must have this interaction of leader and the other leader. She leads on her behalf by letting him lead, and he leads by realizing that she moves as well. They're adjusting themselves, and then they together look like one body moving, synchronizing in great harmony in the world. When you move like two individuals, when you say, "What have you done for me, baby?" you have a problem. When you say, "What could you do for me, baby?" you have a bigger problem. This is the lessons that you learn from here. That's why a lot of people don't make good decisions in picking a spouse. That's why a lot of people, when they already picked a spouse, even if the right one, somewhere they forget along the line, they think the job was done. The job is not done until the end of your time. It always needs to have maintenance. You need to maintain your married life. You need to be able to negotiate, to make decisions, to be in touch with your emotions. Don't make logical decisions. Oh, she is 1, 2, 3. It's not going to come from a place of love. And you see how much Yitzchak loved Rivka. Yitzchak, because he made that decisions based on that, Yitzchak was the only one of the patriarchs who had one single woman, because he made the decision to marry her based on what we said before. And if Avraham and Yitzchak were a model for perfect marriage, they were a model, Yitzchak and Rivka were the ultimate model. And we, as Jews, nowadays, build our lives, marriage life, based on Yitzchak and Rivka. Individual life, Avraham and Sarah. Married life, and as a nation, on Yaakov and Banav. So guys, make decisions, be in touch with your emotions. Very important. And say thank you to the one you with. Love the one you with. It's a beautiful song, you should listen to. Actually, it's a nice tune, but a very horrible song. But never mind, love the one you with. Let them, allow them to shine the light and reflect it back in greater intensity. And you might have a chance to have good life. Shabbat Shalom.